All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Parks and Community Services Commission regular meeting of October 12th, 2023. We're going to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock p.m. and turn it over to Ms. Fatua for we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Dorn Parker, would you be so kind to lead us in the pledge? Thank you, Vice Chair Dorn Parker, and then Ms. Fatua for the roll call.
All right. Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Present.
Commissioner Glab.
Here.
Commissioner Wall.
Here.
Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Wright. Vice Chair Dorn Parker.
Here.
Chair Rutherford.
Here.
We have quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Fatua. And unfortunately, we're missing Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Brown tonight, but we look forward to seeing them again soon. We'll go on to public comments now for matters not listed on the agenda. So if there's any public comments, now would be the time. Good evening, Mr. Garcia.
Hi, good evening, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'd just like to speak as the president of Harbor Soaring Society and mention that we're very grateful for the city's support in helping to reach a compromise measure to motion to reopen the flying field as of mid-July. We've been receiving a great amount of positive community support from people on the first and third Saturdays of the month. We've had a lot of new faces that have stopped by, a lot of old faces, a lot of youth members of the community that are interested in flying. We'd like to invite you out to check it out for yourself. On October 21st will be the next flight day. And between now and then, we'll see you at the Scarecrow Festival on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Ms. Fatua, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on Zoom?
If there are any members on Zoom who wish to speak during public comment, please raise your hand. Chair, I see no Zoom attendees with their hands raised.
Great, thank you. We'll close public comments and then move on to commissioner comments and suggestions. We'll start down the line with Commissioner Glab from District 1.
No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia Arcos from District 4.
No comments.
Commissioner Wall from District 3.
I'm going for 3 for 3. I've got nothing to offer today.
Wonderful. And then our Vice Chair, Dorn Parker.
Oh, it can't be 4 for 4. Sorry. Just wanted a few things that I wanted to note. One is we had the State of the City event, which was wonderful. So the staff did a great job, and it was full. And one of the things that was highlighted was the work of our park staff and the additional funding that we're getting for our parks. So I wanted to say there was a big shout out there about all of the work that's coming up and the excitement going on in the city, which was great. I also was able to attend the Hispanic Heritage Month event, and boy, I went early and it was already like lines out the door for the delicious food, and the entertainment was fabulous, and it was so nice to see the community come out and see the musical event. So again, I want to thank the staff. You all did fabulous, and the information got out there to the people as far as that goes. And something that's not directly related to the city, but over at the Coast Community College District, there's an exhibit going on right now about the Mendez versus Westminster, which was the court case that actually stopped the segregation. It was before Brown versus, and so if you have a chance to go in, it's a huge collaboration between the Museum on the History, the Westminster community who realizes that they stopped the Mexican children from attending school that had a playground. And so you had families who gathered together, who sued, and they won. Didn't go to the Supreme Court because everyone felt that was wrong, but it's a great acknowledgement of the historical reference to Orange County in the fight to make sure school and equity was open to all. And I think that, and then I had a chance, So I Save Our Youth, with our wonderful city manager. She and I, along with a trustee from Newport Mesa, Carol Crane, was part of a panel of women and leaders in our community to show the leadership training team that they have there, to show what's possible. And all of our journeys, we found out, were really not straight, and all of our journeys did involve a lot of our immigrant background and the opportunities that our country had created for that. So that's what I have for this month.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vice Chair Dorn Parker. I'll round us out. I don't have any comments tonight. So we will close commissioner comments and go on to old business, starting with the minutes from our last meeting. If there's any commissioner comments or a motion. Commissioner Garcia Arcos, go ahead.
I just remembered, so we actually had an event for Labors of Love, and I wanted to encourage everybody who's watching or listening to us today. We are doing Labors of Love the first Saturday of every month for 3 hours, blessing our neighbors in need. We were fortunate enough to do 3 projects this past month. Also, we were able to walk yesterday with resilienceoc.org yesterday in the community of Shalimar, just encouraging them to understand what their laws are, because 10 families have been kicked out of their residence with 30-day notice, I believe. And so we're just trying to advocate for more support on that. I did want to mention Friday at 1 a.m. In Shalimar, there were 6 shots directed towards where I live. And I do have to remind you all that on July 3rd, there was someone that got murdered outside of 18th Street. So I'm not sure where this is going to go, but I feel like if we can collaborate, or anybody here knows of any resources to share, I think this is the time to collaborate. These were from gangs outside of Costa Mesa that came in, and so I just kind of wanted to give that information. If anybody knows of anything that we can do to collaborate, I think it's the time now. But thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia Arcos, for sharing that. And let's definitely connect afterwards and have a chat as well. Thank you. Great. Any motions on the minutes?
I'm not able to make a motion.
Oh,
I just did.
Commissioner Wall just made a motion, and I'll go ahead and second it.
Okay.
Wonderful, and we'll call the question.
I'm not able to.
You may vote on your dice.
I'm not able to vote. It shows that I'm member absent.
Oh, yeah, there is an error on,
An error? Oh, one moment.
Okay, no
Let's
problem.
take a look. All right, let's do a manual vote. For some reason, it's Commissioner Glab,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia Arcos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dorn Parker,
Yes.
Chair Rutherford.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 to approve the minutes. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Fatua. Next, we'll move on to the second item of old business, which is the tree removal at 2722 Sandpiper Drive. And we have an update from Mr. Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Chair Rutherford. Good evening, Commissioners. This is an update on a tree that was requested for removal and heard before the Commission back in April at its regularly scheduled meeting. Just a little bit of background. The Maintenance Services Department was contacted by the applicant and requested the tree be removed, which is all part of our normal process for tree removals. The applicant reported the tree was causing allergy issues for he and his wife. It dropped excessive amount of needles, flowers, pollen, and other debris onto his property, which she claimed caused an excessive burden to maintain. The city arborist had inspected the tree and found no justification for removal. The applicant at that time did request that we present it to the Public Works Director as a Category 2 accelerated removal. That was presented to the Public Works Director at the time, and he concurred with staff and saw no justification to remove as a Category 2. The applicant did request then that it be presented to the PAX Commission as a Category 3. Again, that request was presented to the Commission on April 13th. The Commission voted to deny the request for removal at that time. A little bit of extra history. Prior to the April meeting, there was request for removal again in 2019. The Commission denied the request by a vote of 5-0. There was another request that was presented in 2021, and again, the request was denied by a vote of 5-1. Of course, the April 13th Commission meeting. Part of that denial included, the motion included a request that staff provide an update in 6 months. So that's what brings us here this evening, prepared to give that update. Not much has changed over those 3 separate requests. The tree is about 45 to 60 feet in height. It's still healthy. It's pest-free and in good condition. It was last trimmed by West Coast Arborist September 11th, 2023, which again I think was a part of the request from the Commission that we worked to trim the tree within that 6-month time frame, which we did. We did a little bit of an extra aggressive trimming, more so than we normally would. This was in an effort to work with the homeowner and try to reduce the amount of debris that was falling into his yard. The picture that you'll see before you right now is a result of that most recent trimming on September 11th. What we've done since April is assign our city arborist to go out and inspect the tree, photograph and document any issues on a biweekly basis. So just have some photos to share of what was found in those inspections. This is from May 11th is when we started. You see there's a little bit of probably remaining flowers in the asphalt there, but not a lot of debris anywhere else. I want to point out as well that we tried to switch up the days of the week. So we weren't going on every Monday or every Tuesday to account for maybe a maintenance day. So we did try to switch the days of the week from Monday through Friday and try to switch up the time of day as well, just to make sure we captured some what was really going on the ground. Here from June 2nd, again, relatively the same. June 12th, again, a little bit of pine needle and looks like maybe possibly some flowers on the ground from the tree. Not a lot in the yard that's noticeable. June 27th. July 13th. In July 26th, the same. I mean, we're not seeing a lot, and this is kind of what we'd expect this time of year. We wouldn't expect to see a whole lot of debris or needles falling. August 7th. This is from August 24th. This is a photo that the resident sent, and this is immediately following the tropical storm that we experienced in the area. It's a photo. This is the only photo received from him, but he did indicate there was a lot of mess in his yard. we would expect to see that after such a storm. It was pretty much what we saw citywide. We received quite a few phone calls, especially in the Mesa Verde area. There's a lot of pine trees about the debris that was on the ground. So this is nothing that's you wouldn't expect to see in especially given the amount of the wind speeds and the amount of wind that we did experience in the area. But we did document that. Unfortunately, we couldn't get out on that day. We were handling we had some down trees, down limbs. So that was the priority. We did try to get out there as soon as possible, try to photograph, to try to get an idea what he was going through, even in a wind event. We did get out there on the next day, September 5th. But as you can see, it was cleaned up, and the evidence that he provided the day before, I have no doubt that he did experience a lot of debris over that weekend. There's September 11th, and I think that was just after the trimming. There's some dead needles on the ground. I think that's evident along the asphalt there, but not a extreme amount. Here's September 28th. And that's the end of the pictures I have. We did hear from the resident. He was not satisfied with the trimming. The trimming did produce a lot of sap, which is kind of what we'd expect in the trimming, especially the additional trimming that was done. That sap is generally the tree just healing the trimming wounds. It'll heal over and cease. His request with the tree is still that he would like it removed, or the tree trimmed back off of his property line. Trimming that tree back off of his property line is not feasible. It would severely damage the tree, lead to its ultimate decline. It would weaken, if we trim back one side of it, it would weaken the tree on one side, compromise the root system, could potentially lead to a tree failure if it wasn't removed prior to that. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Any commissioner questions? Commissioner Wall, go ahead.
Obviously, we talked about this in April, Rob. As I look at the tree itself, it looks, number one, very healthy. And I also notice that there's no uprooting of the sidewalk or the surrounding area that would be a consequence of sometimes roots going wild. So from what I see, I mean, the tree's healthy, and while I can appreciate why the resident would want to have it taken out, I just have a tough time with that. I mean, we don't have, and when I looked down that street on some of the shots that you had, I saw like one other tree other than the one that we're talking about. Not a lot of trees around there, and I wouldn't be inclined to want to take away what few there are on that part of Sandpiper.
There are other pine trees in that area, though I don't know the shots that we took covered it, but there are other trees. I agree with your assessment, though, however. I mean, it's a perfectly healthy tree. It's not causing any damage to infrastructure. We did have some roots that could have been upsetting the asphalt. Those were addressed through typical maintenance repairs, which are not unusual. And since that time, we're not experiencing any other issues in those areas with the roots.
What time of the year does that tree have more debris in the fall coming up?
I would expect that we're going to start seeing more debris. Probably anytime there's a wind event, you're going to see more debris falling down. That can occur anytime from early September, as we saw, through November, December, even into February, March.
Commissioner Wall, the homeowner's complaint was more of a health issue with asthma, and they think it was a result of the tree.
Yeah, that's correct. One of the issues was allergy issues among the debris. Typically, pine trees are not known to cause allergies. People that are allergic to pines are typically allergic to grasses and other plant materials. We did consider that when we were reviewing the removal. Given those facts I just shared, as well as the fact that there's numerous other pine trees up and down that street, we really didn't think that removing that tree would alleviate the issues that he was experiencing with allergies. But we did consider that.
I have one more question. Mr. Ryan, why is I'm trying to say, why does this city own the tree, but then the landowner has to take care of it and maintain it, not necessarily trimming it, but cleaning up after it? I'm just confused why does the homeowners do not own the parkway, right?
So the parkway is considered a shared area, mainly for utility purposes. Our municipal code requires that the homeowner maintain that parkway. The city does, however, maintain the trees with regards to trimming and regular maintenance, any pest and disease issues. The homeowner is required through municipal code to provide irrigation to the trees. And part of owning a home is just cleaning up after the tree from debris.
So they can't request somebody to help clean up when it gets really bad? That's not normally what a homeowner would do?
No, not from city staff or city crew, no. Typically, we wouldn't send city staff or city crew onto private property just for liability reasons.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the concerns, especially for the homeowner's health. I think, Rob, you made a good point that, there's pine trees all throughout the street and in many parts of Costa Mesa, so it might not be an issue we can solve for him just by removing this one tree. Vice Chair Dorn Parker, did you want to say something?
Yeah. First of all, I want to really thank the staff for going through and listening to us, that we were very concerned that maybe the previous tree trimming made this pine tree shed more, and really have an understanding of how this impacts the property and the homeowners. And September 4th was crazy. I mean, our entire East Side neighborhood was littered through scary palm leaf straw falling down and a lot of other trees. So that's kind of a wind event. So I really want to thank the staff, and also I want to acknowledge it's related to this a little bit for my commissioners, but I had a couple calls on a street where there were some trees that appeared in there to be healthy, but they had somebody there that has an arboristic background, and the city staff went way out of their way to understand, because one of the trees did fall on top of a car. There were children there. So the staff really went out of their way, went over it constantly, and to understand how they can trim it differently, how they can work different. And all of these neighbors wanted the trees saved, but they also wanted it to be safe. So I went to that neighborhood again because it was on our agenda. And those trees, there's a lot of them on that street, and a lot of them are not trimmed as well as this homeowner's tree. I don't know, meaning horticulture, whether this was healthier for the tree, but this is part of, we're a tree city, and I understand how frustrating it is. You don't get to pick the tree that's in front of your house. You don't get to pick that you have to clean up after this. So I appreciate you coming back and working with the homeowner. Yeah, because it's a bummer when you have allergies. I mean, about 10 years ago, everyone planted olive trees in my neighborhood, and I'm highly allergic to olive trees, and it's a mess when they bloom. It's just a mess, and I appreciate that more than anything. And I wasn't allergic to olive trees until we had 20 of them planted, and my neighbors who had the same design architect who thought it'd be really cool to put all these really cool non-native olive trees around, which means they're stressed more. They actually produce worse pollen and things like that. But so I just want to say this is, I can feel for the property owner having allergies to grasses and pines and things like that, but it's healthy. I really appreciate you looking after this, and if there's anything else, I know you'll be working with the homeowners, so.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I have a few questions. When is the best time to trim pine trees?
I would say anytime now between December, January, is we would prefer to trim pine trees. This is within that window. We're a little bit on the early side when we would typically trim pine trees.
Would you say that the sap is a little bit more active?
It's possible, especially considering the weather. Southern California in general is a little bit difficult because we don't typically have nice, even seasons. So if it's warmer, experience, so like a warmer September or even a warmer October, you could expect to see more sapping than you would when it gets a little colder and the tree's slowing down a little bit.
Another question, what happens when you prune a tree? Like you mentioned, heavy pruning. What would be an effect of that?
So there's some possibilities that in other tree species, you could weaken the tree, affect the health of the tree. Typically, we'd only recommend trimming about 15 to 20% of the tree. With pine trees are one of the few trees that retain their epicormic buds under the bark. So typically, heading back pine trees is not, again, while we would not recommend it or normally perform that type of trimming, it's something that pine trees can tolerate specifically. But overall, it's a practice we don't do just because we have a concern for the overall health of the tree that can be affected by over trimming it.
What I noticed on the picture too is there has been some uplifting from the roots because I think the sidewalk has been repaired a few times. And that's something that we've inherited, so we have to accept that as part of our tree. And also as we're a tree city, but with low funding, I think that's where resources should or could be poured into. Because I'm noticing that the city arborist took a lot of time to go check out this specific tree because of this resident, but there's a lot of trees that need our attention, and we only have one city arborist doing this work. So what would be a recommendation of yours to allocate funds for specifically pruning and maintaining trees that are already existing?
So we're about to head into the budget process, and on an annual basis, we make our requests that go before our public works director from maintenance services. So those go before the public works director, and then it's reviewed by the city manager, and there's a budgetary process that we'll start with, and that's where we start requesting our funds and requesting increases and recognizing the growing maintenance needs around the city. So that's where we dig into that process and make our requests there.
Could you share with us where those fundings would be allocated? I do recall maybe as a recommendation for in-house. I'm not sure what the term, if you can help me out with that. In-house arborist or staff members.
I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you wanting to know where the funds are allocated or how the funds are allocated, or what portion of the funds go to tree maintenance?
Yes, and what other things, for example, like education, is there a portion for education? Let me give you an example. So we had this event in Shalimar where each tree was adopted by a community member. We had a company come out and tell us exactly what we need to do to maintain the tree as a resident. So right now our success rates are pretty high, about 80% so far. But I think including the community is going to be empowering to make sure that we have a higher success rate for our urban forestry. Is there a specific budget for the community education portion of that?
For community education, not in the maintenance services budget. We have about $680,000 annually allocated towards tree maintenance, and that would include regular tree trimming, tree planting, tree irrigation, response to emergencies. I don't have a breakdown of where those funds go. I think off the top of my head, about 20% to 30% go to emergency response and limbs down, hanging limbs, those types of responses. But I couldn't provide a breakdown. I can get something to you later if you wish.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Well, seeing no other comments on this item, Ms. Fatua, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this? We'll open it to public comment.
If there are any members on Zoom, please raise your hand. Chair, I see no hands raised.
Great, we'll close public comments. I don't think there's any action for the commission at this time other than to receive and file the report, so we will do that. Appreciate your work on this, Rob. Thank you. And move on to the park ranger reports. Are there any commissioner comments or director comments on the park ranger report? All right, seeing none, we will open public comments for the park ranger report and close public comments and then go on to the director's report. So Alma and Monique, we will turn that over to you.
Good evening, Chair Rutherford and Commissioners. I wanted to make an announcement. Well, first of all, I wanted to congratulate the Newport Mesa School District for their State of the Schools. It was a fantastic event. It was held at Costa Mesa High School, and we were greeted by enthusiastic, energetic Mustangs. And Dr. Wes Smith was able to give us highlights of what the district has been accomplishing through the year, which was very impressive, especially in the STEAM engineering area. We actually had a demonstration from two young ladies that are part of the STEM program there at Costa Mesa High School, which was really cool to see that they replicated the Chargers quarterback Herbert into a robot. It was Herbie. So they actually launched the footballs out into their administrators. So it was really fascinating to see what our students are doing locally. So I want to congratulate the school district for all the efforts, and also a shout out to our team that works closely together with the school district with the after school ROCKS program. The other thing I wanted to remind everyone is that October 19th is the Great Shakeout. So it's Earthquake Preparedness month. So I encourage you to develop your plans at home and go over them with your family. Here at the city, our staff will be, exercise some drills and evacuation plans. So we're getting ready for that. So I encourage you to do the same at home. So now I'll go ahead and pass it over to Monique, who will give you some insight on the programming side.
Thank you, Alma. And I'll just highlight a couple of things from our report. First, I want to start off with the Costa Mesa Senior Center. They have always done great work, and I know that you heard from them at your last commission. But they did have recently a very successful senior health and wellness expo. It was very well attended. Over 100 seniors came, and there was numerous resources, from medical resources to rental assistance. Everything that you can imagine was there at the senior expo, and they were provided snacks, and there was raffles. So we got many kudos for that expo, which was, I think, a record attendance by seniors. Second off, moving on, is just highlighting Fairview Park. I know that that we do some restoration days. So there's actually 2 now in a month. One's in partnership with the Banning Ranch Conservancy. So I encourage you, if you ever have a chance, to go out there and help with a restoration event. It's very educational as well. We are moving along on the master plan. I know that we had one workshop already, and so we are planning for another community meeting sometime in November. So stay tuned for more information on that and what the updates and the progress on the master plan, and with more details to come. In terms of youth programming, I know I had mentioned at the last meeting that Mobile Rec was starting, so it did start last month, and it's up and running, and kids are starting to get their word out, and we go to Paularino Park, Shalimar, Ketchum-Leibolt, Wilson, and then on the weekends they do numerous city events as well. Paularino Park is definitely one of the most popular parks at this point, and they're going to be doing some more educational outreach to for Shalimar and Ketchum-Leibolt to really get kids to know that they're back, they're here, just to really encourage and spread the word that we're there on those days. Come on out. It's free play, games. The staff is out there, and really trying to activate that space again, like how we used to with the mobile rec program. Our LEAP program is also up and running and in full force. And what's new this year is, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we changed the format for the LEAP program. So it used to be Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays was, I believe, 3 to 4 year olds. Tuesday and Thursdays was 4 to 5 year olds. And they kind of surveyed parents who were coming, and they said, we really would want something 5 days a week. So we just spread it out to 3 to 5 year olds, 5 days a week, and then they have 2 classrooms going for the different age groups. So we've gotten a lot of good feedback on the 5-day-a-week program. I know as a new parent, basically, that I like something that has consistency that, your kids can go to, and they really get to know your leaders and teachers better and get the structure going. And so that's a really big positive change that we did, and that was based off of the feedback we heard from the parents participating. In terms of permits, I just wanted to let you know that our department has also taken on the task now of film permitting in the city. So I know that we mentioned that, TESA is our special event permit process, among other what TESA is used for everything else in the city now, but we also use it for special events. But now we also do film permits. So that's been a new undertaking for us. Kathia, who's not here today, she's actually at the Back to Soy night tonight, so she's representing us there, which is happening right now. But she's taken on that in addition to special event permits, so it's been a learning curve, but also she's been a champion at TESA and really streamlining that process. So just a few notes on some upcoming events. So I don't know if you know this, we have a little event called the Scarecrow Festival happening this Saturday at the Lions Park event lawn. Really excited about that one. I do want to note a neat feature that we're piloting with this event is that we are bringing out a mobile water station where people can fill up their own water bottles for free. And this machine connects to our potable water, filters it, and dispenses it for anybody bringing their water bottle. It's kind of a new change on the sustainable feature part of our special events, saving on plastic water bottles used throughout events. Those are very common at everywhere you go. When you go to an event, you see plastic water bottles. So we're trying out this new feature with this mobile water station. So we'll see how that goes, but we're very excited to try that out. I would be remiss because our Arts Commissioner Chairperson, Ashendorf, wanted me to stress our venture is coming up. It's a big deal this year. The format is changing and it's longer. So the art gets to be up for a longer time. We're having the art up at the NHCC for a little over a week. So everybody has enough time to come out to the Norma Herzog Center, check out the art, really for more than just a day. So that way we really can give you the big picture and you can see the art in detail and maybe even come out multiple times. We do have a People's Choice Award, so you could already go on the website, on the city website, and see some of the artwork submitted, and that's up for voting. We have QR codes, but you can submit for your choice. So I believe she said there was already over 1,000 votes for the People's Choice Award. So we encourage everybody, go on there, pick your favorite one. There's a lot of good artwork up already. So we encourage you to come out and see it in person. On October 28th, there's a community art day out in the lawn area, so that we're bringing back that event, which used to happen in the past. We didn't get to do it last year, so now we have, during the day, there's going to be a community art day. There's going to be kind of partners. The school district is coming out to doing some demos, chalk art, all kinds of fun stuff for the kids. And then later that evening, we are having an award ceremony at the Orange County Museum of Art, where we will be announcing the winners of the art show. So I know this is not the Arts Commission, but she wanted me to make sure I touched base on that and really hype it up. And then last but not least, I wanted to say we are making progress on opening up some school sites. I know that Alma had talked about the state of the schools, so we're working on opening up 4 school sites over on the west side of Costa Mesa, and we're getting very close to that. We're just working with some security consultant to bring some extra security to those sites when we open the parks, but once that's done, we'll be moving forward, and those parks will be open for public use. And that concludes my presentation.
A wonderful report. Thank you, Monique. Thank you, Alma. So yeah, really amazing work and excited to hear that. Any commissioner questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Wall, and then
I'm
Vice Chair
just
Dorn Parker.
curious, Monique, how many requests do we get for film permits in Costa Mesa? Do we get a lot? Do we get a few?
So we've since I think it's been like a month and a half since we've taken it over, and I think we've done about 10. I would say roughly 10.
Wow.
So I don't know what the standard is because we just took it over, and so we don't have all the data of like how many they count in. But we do get. I just from the general sense of what I've been seeing, student films from whether that's OCC or Chapman comes down here. They have different student films that they're trying to do around the city. We're a student film, I think from UCI, is wanting to film at our Billerick Community Center in the next couple weeks. And so it's interesting, a new aspect definitely for us, but we get various commercials, so I'm trying to see kind of this other side of it, but in terms of total, I like say I've seen us do about 10 so far since we've taken them over. So that just kind of gives you a little glimpse of what we do.
I was just curious because
Yeah.
you drive down the street and you see a film crew and you see a whole bunch of panel trucks parked and you see grip equipment and lighting equipment and all of that, and you know what's going on. And you just never think that little sleepy-eyed Costa Mesa is going to get that much action, but sounds like they might.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I had just a quick question. Is there still space at the award ceremony? Because I know I tried to go on before it was opened. Is there still space, or are they sold out of the award ceremony for the art adventure?
Last time I checked, I thought there was still space, but I can check with our art specialist and I can get back to you on that.
Or I can go online.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's open, and even if it's filled, I believe we can take walk-ins as long as you say you're there for the awards ceremony. So
Okay. 'Cause
if it's filled, that we can work on getting it open again. So
Yeah, because I missed it last year, and I just heard wonderful things. This is an amazing work by our arts commissioner and their whole new work. I know that they're getting up and going. And based on that also, I just want to thank our city and also Alma and our city manager working with Newport Mesa and working with our city council, with the school district trustees. They heard loud and clear our frustrations and appreciate that everyone's working on solutions. Even Harper, even though they have to lock the gates during the day, that I've noticed when I've biked around there, it's open in the afternoon and it's open all weekend. So, and I know there's going to be a longer term solution for that gate or that fencing, but so I just want to acknowledge that I heard that loud and clear.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I have comment, but not related to this.
Now would be the time.
I've been reading on Nextdoor and seeing it. There's, I don't know if anybody's noticed the e-bike issue and the exodus of kids coming out of school and the accidents people are getting into and the rude behavior of some of the kids riding the e-bikes. Is there a way to bring a Costa Mesa PD in to ask questions of what might be done in the future? And like he mentioned earlier, maybe going to the schools and doing some kind of education program? Just a request.
Thank you for your feedback. We're actually, that was a topic of discussion during our leadership team meeting because we are seeing an increase in youth traveling at high speeds. There was some state legislature that was just passed that allows jurisdictions to, consider ordinances. So I know that is something that the council will be hearing in the near future. I believe that this item will be coming from our Costa Mesa Police Department. But if there are specific questions, I can go ahead and make that request that at our next meeting that we have representation from the police department so that if you have questions, we are able to ask.
I don't know if anybody else would have questions, or if that should be addressed, but I'm just noticing a big increase in problems with the e-bikes. Would anybody know if there's an insurance, like if a kid were to hit a car, what kind of insurance does that kid have on that bike? Somebody said homeowners, but if you live in an apartment, does that work?
Yeah,
Just
this is
that kind of
it's a new
stuff, right.
topic.
Right.
So I know that we're going to bring an item to the city council in the near future that will explore all of those, questions and provide alternatives to the council for their consideration.
It's interesting because I noticed the beginning of this school year, it ramped up and the e-bikes they're on seem to be more 2 and 3 levels, which mean they don't pedal. It's kind of like a electric motorcycle. But I can remember when my kids were young, there were tons of Costa Mesa enforcement at the beginning of the year, especially around the junior highs and the elementary schools that had the 6th grade, where they were there because the children didn't put their helmets on, they didn't buckle them, they flew through stop signs, especially on the east side. And I remember there was a tremendous enforcement on those first 2 to 3 weeks of school. And I know that cost the city some money, but boy, did that really work to help sort of set it up. And then they could understand where to go back to. But and I see Huntington Beach is starting with their ordinance to basically outlaw the faster motorcycle kind of bikes. So I agree. It's so interesting, Commissioner, because I said the same thing. I was like sitting there on my bike just amazed. And then some e-bikers cut off a driver, like literally in front of them. And of course, their behavior was not gracious or apologetic. Let's just say it's a growing problem, and it's a growing problem not just for the drivers, but I mean, like you said, the bicyclists. I mean, yeah, and they hit each other because they're on their phones. I saw like 3 kids hit each other. They were on their phones and they were zooming through the stop sign, and another one's zooming the stop sign, and they hit each other in the middle of the block. So we went over and made sure they were okay. But it's dogs off leash, and that's a problem. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, I almost hit one it was really dark and he was crossing the street when I was at a stop sign. And so, yeah, it's worrisome. It's worrisome.
Well, thank you, commissioners. I think that is a good point of discussion as we're talking about programs and the collaboration with Newport Mesa. From a high level, I do want to echo what you said, Vice Chair. It is an exciting time of collaboration between Newport Mesa, really historic to open up those fields on the west side, work through some thorny issues like the Harper Park fence. But I think we're definitely turning a new chapter on that front. So that's very exciting to see. And to the extent we can incorporate education, joint education efforts with the PD, I think that's an excellent idea. Like the early part of the school year, really get out there and focus on education versus, like fear mongering about e-bikes or banning certain types of bikes. I'm a big supporter of e-bikes. One e-bike trip uses significantly less energy than equivalent trip in a vehicle. So it's really better for the environment. And the substantial reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. So, it's good for our city for people to be using alternative forms of transportation. And there's big infrastructure projects, making space for that kind of transportation to happen with protected bike lanes. So I think on the one hand, it's exciting to see us making space for that in the city. But on the other hand, I do think we need to step up and, educate folks about this, new and growing form of transportation. And there's multiple e-bike companies in Costa Mesa. There's a lot of workers in Costa Mesa. It's a part of our economy in the city. So I think we need to figure out that sweet spot of, embracing the sustainable mode of transportation, but, being smart and thoughtful about how we educate and regulate around it.
It's interesting to point that out about the e-bikes, that I see more and more families. I call it the Amsterdam, kid bucket. I see a lot of families now, instead of taking their children in a car to go drop them off, they're on the e-bikes, and they're like the younger ones are in these Amsterdam kind of buckets. And then some have the seats on the back, and like my whole neighborhood goes out. But those are the ones, everybody's in helmets. Because the parents are the one driving that. So I'm hoping by modeling that'll help long term. But short term, we have some big challenges to continue to invite the children to do the biking, but biking safely. It's sort of, So it's rather than just stopping it cold, is to really help engage the right way to utilize the e-bikes. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think it's a good discussion for us to be engaged in, all of us in this room. So totally appreciate you bringing that up. Great. Any more comments, commissioners or Monique, Alma, on the director's report? Awesome. And I don't think we have any public comments, but we'll open and close public comments. Awesome. Great. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda for this evening. Record time.
I would like.
Go ahead, Laura, please. Thank you.
I just want to mention that we are dark in November for the holiday of Veterans Day. So I just want to notate that the next meeting is currently agendized for December 14th.
Wonderful. Well,
And I'm sorry, I forgot on my notes. I apologize. City Council Jeff and I met with more Harper families, not just the ones you've been seeing here, to make sure there's a concern that not everybody's being listened to. So that's a continuation because it's not just there's a lot of discussions. And so the main thing that we really, and Jeff was great, is it's kind of like thinking about remodeling. So there had been a lot of rumors about expansion of the footprint, putting in pickleball courts. They probably heard that because they know what a pickleball person I am. But there was really putting basketball courts. So there was a conversation that we had about what it was not. And it's basically looking at the space that exists for recreation and for picnic and for seating, and looking at how to remodel it so it's ADA, it's compliant, and it works for the users that use it. So just wanted to let the commissioners know, in case you run about, that it's an ongoing conversation, and also to clarify, but also let everybody knows everyone's voices are being heard and will be heard. So this is, as we're talking about how to communicate, it's a unique group, and we know every community is unique within Costa Mesa. So I just want to kind of update everybody, that in case you're hearing that. It's not us versus them, not who came and has great ideas. It's really listening to all the neighbors about where they envision the community space to be.
Thank you for sharing that, Vice Chair. Great. Well, we will adjourn until our next meeting on December 14th, 2023. Thank you all, and have a good night.